Live.
Hello. Hello, everybody. We have gone live. Welcome to another episode of the Point by Point Tennis Podcast. How's it going, Jish?
No, doing well. How about you?
You ready to talk some tennis today?
Let's do it.
Today we're going to talk about the Monte Carlo Masters. We have a first-time Masters 1000 winner in Andrei Rublev. So we'll talk about that. That's going to be our first discussion topic of today. But we had Rublev beating Rune in that final. We also are going to talk a little bit about the drama that happened in Monte Carlo. There was some drama on the court. There was some drama off the court. So it's going to be kind of fun to talk about some of the press conference quotes, particularly from Medvedev. I think he took the show there. He always takes a show when it comes to press conferences. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then there's a few tournaments this week to talk about as well. So we had the Masters 1000 event in Monte Carlo, and the clay season is just packed with Masters 1000 events, right? So we have Monte Carlo, we have Madrid, and we have Rome. But in between, we do have smaller events which we'll cover today, and those are going to be happening this week. So we have Barcelona for the men leading the way, and for the women we have Stuttgart leading the way there. And then we have two smaller tournaments in Munich and in Bosnia, and there are some high profile players there, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But maybe we should just get started with the results, with the final.
Let's do it.
How surprised were you when Andrei Rublev won the Masters 1000 event in Monte Carlo, his first?
Yeah, I mean, I think he deserved it.
Yeah.
Fightingly. I mean, he played well. I was surprised that he didn't have as much trouble, I guess, getting there. He did a good job handling Fritz, Tsitsipas, Struff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Hashanov. So he's playing well. I think a lot of people were wondering when his first ATP 1000 is going to happen, and I'm actually not too surprised that it's on clay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good on clay.
I actually saw a stat today that really boggled my mind. Like, he has 64 point something per win percentage on every single surface. That's like the most weird stat out there. He feels that way, though. He's always like in the final stages of events. It's always just been a little bit hard for him to really just close the deal, right? Because he runs into some of the bigger talents, right? And, Alcarazes of the world, Nadal, big three, always standing in his way. And then also, of course, Medvedev and Zverev and Tsitsipas. And he has been to the final of Monte Carlo before, actually. And he lost to Tsitsipas pretty handily. I think that was the first time Tsitsipas won it. Mm-hmm. But he's back this time, and he ran into probably somebody that maybe most people thought would win in Rune, but somebody still that has very little experience. He's still very young, similar to Alcaraz, right? They're both 19. So Rune came in as a favorite, but definitely this was a big opportunity for both of them, right? For Rune and for Rublev. It's kind of odd that Rune actually came in with, being the guy who actually had done it before, because he won Paris last year.
Yeah, I can't believe he already has one under his belt. Exactly.
So he beat Djokovic in that final as well. He didn't win it by a fluke, right? He had to go through Djokovic to win that title. So that's why I think most people were expecting him to win, especially because he actually beat Sinner, who's one of the hottest players on tour this year. He beat him in that semifinal. He actually played very well to take that match after losing pretty handily the first set against Sinner. So he came in, a little bit hotter than Rublev, a little bit more hyped, I would say. But Rublev did well to really, just show that he is the more experienced guy on tour. Between the two, he is like 24, 25, something like that. And Rune is still a teenager. So it really did show that in big moments he was able to come through. I do also think that Rune had a little bit of physical issues at the end of that match. He had a really emotional and physical win against Sinner, and we have seen that these teenagers, it's hard for them to put like a few matches that are grueling together to be able to win. And we saw that with Rune again. So that is the one thing to take away from that from on the negative side. But I think in general it's mostly positives for both of them. I think both guys did great Rublev definitely to win his first Masters. I mean, I honestly didn't even think that he would. I mean, I thought he was capable, but I didn't think it was a certainty that he would do it, right? Because there's just too much talent right now. Somebody like Sinner, somebody like Rune, Alcaraz, and you still have the other guard, right? Tsitsipas and Zverev and Medvedev are all still there, and those are all very difficult roadblocks for Rublev, and Rublev doesn't really have all the weapons. So it's really, really impressive that he was able to put it all together this week.
Yeah, I'm impressed with him. I mean, that Sinner match was in my I guess opinion like one of the best he's played recently. I mean, he also had to go through Medvedev.
You're talking Rune?
Yeah.
I'm
talking about Rune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that match with Sinner, one of the things that really impressed me was the fact that he got blown off the first set. He got blown off the court, and Sinner, like he put a beating on Musetti in the previous round. So he had won 3 sets in a row very convincingly. 6-2, 6-2 against Musetti, and then 6-1 against Rune. And the fact that Rune was able to, put it together and stay in there still believing, that was very impressive, I thought. And he just has all the shots. Like he's similar to Alcaraz in the sense that he has a lot of variety. He's just a little more inconsistent in putting it together. And he still makes sometimes bad decisions on the court, like a lot more consistently than Alcaraz does. But he does have that magic, right? And we saw him. I mean, Rune made his name on the clay last year. Actually, in the event that we're going to sort of briefly talk about today in Munich, where he beat Alexander Zverev in that tournament where he was supposed to be, by far the favorite. He beat him there early in the second round. He was able to carry it all the way through to win the title. And then obviously where everybody really saw him was when he beat Tsitsipas at Roland Garros. So Rune last year really made his name on the clay. And he really seems to move really well on the clay.
Well. Yeah, sorry, you were talking about Rublev earlier, but yeah, I think this is, you said, for both players, very good takeaway for both of them going into the rest of the clay season.
Yeah.
So, there was some other really good matches.
Yeah.
And kind of ups and downs too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I thought there was a ton of great matches. I think there was a lot of great stories in this tournament because, somebody who, for example, I wasn't really expecting much of in this tournament was Taylor Fritz. And he made it to the semifinals in this tournament. So that's huge for him.
As a clay court player?
Not at all.
Yeah. Right.
And he
sneaked in there.
This really shows that, this is always going to be probably his worst surface. But if he's able to do these kind of results on his worst surface, that really means that he's a consistent top player now. The fact that he's put it together, he had a really good Sunshine Double, I would say. Given the fact that he didn't win any tournament there, but he got far and he played against 2 of the hottest players on tour, and Alcaraz and Sinner. So no shame in losing to those guys, right? And he actually played well against at least Sinner in that match in Indian Wells. So the fact that he's also translated these results to the clay on Monte Carlo, and actually beating the defending champion here, let's not forget, beating Tsitsipas in that match. So I think that's a great story. I think that means that Taylor Fritz, he is. Yeah, there's a lot of guys talked about, right, in men's tennis because honestly, there's so many good players on the men's side now on the U.S. Tiafoe was the rave because he beat Nadal in U.S. Open, and he's been able to sort of carry those results. He himself had a great Sunshine Double, but honestly, Taylor Fritz still is the man in the U.S. I think, and he is showing that. And now if he can win on the clay, I mean, look out. I mean, he might be able to get to the top 5 by the end of this year. I mean, he already sort of touched it a little bit in Indian Wells, and then he dropped down again because he couldn't defend his title there. But I think he does have that kind of potential. He's improved a lot in his movement, and he just has that gamer mentality. You know, he's a guy who really believes in himself, and he fights a lot. So I really enjoy that from him. Yeah, what do you think about Fritz? What you saw from him?
Yeah, no, I was impressed. I didn't think he was gonna get that far. I mean, I had him losing to Wawrinka in the first round.
I think I had him losing to Wawrinka too.
But he pulled that through, and then, you know, he ended up beating Tsitsipas, which I didn't think that was gonna happen.
Yeah, that was a huge win.
Yeah, and I mean, he went to 3 sets with Rublev too. So
Yeah.
that's, you know, semis in Monte Carlo is no joke. So yeah.
Yeah, it's well done from him. I guess we also have to sort of give a shout to Lorenzo Musetti,
who took out Djokovic.
Took out Novak Djokovic. I gotta say though, that was one of the ugliest matches I have seen in a long time. I mean, those guys could not hold serve in this match.
Oh.
Like they had, especially the second set, I think they had like 80% of the games won by breaks.
Oh gosh.
It was horrendous. But somehow Musetti was able to pull that off, and you know they had to battle. To be fair, they had to battle the conditions. It was raining. It was windy. It was pretty disgusting out there.
Yeah.
And they had to stop twice, I think, in this match.
Yeah.
So the fact that Musetti was able to sort of survive in that sense against Djokovic, that's a huge win for him, because especially because Djokovic won the first set, and at that point you think this is just gonna be one-way traffic. But Musetti fought back, and he won a close match, which is also encouraging to see that they can do that right against a guy like Djokovic. Now, granted, Djokovic is coming back from not playing since when? I think his last match was against Medvedev in that tournament was it Dubai that they played? So it's been a long time.
Different surface.
And it takes Djokovic a little while to get comfortable on clay too. I think the times that he's won Roland Garros, he's actually played pretty bad at Monte Carlo before. So I think this is more of a Djokovic sort of getting used to the clay again.
Okay.
And I feel like there's not much to look into here. What do you think?
I'd say the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I think good win for Musetti. He definitely celebrated like it was the end of the tournament. I don't know if you saw the end of that. Yeah.
No, the worst one was the match before that, where he double bageled
that's pretty big.
Luca Nardi in the quarters, in the round of not the quarters, the round of 32 against qualifier Luca Nardi, double bageled him, and he screamed like he had won the tournament.
Really?
Like it was so bad. I was like, "What are you doing? You just double bageled this guy, qualifier." It was a little bit cringy.
Yeah.
But all in all, I'm glad to see that Musetti's doing well on the clay. I mean, he really does feel at home at clay. Like he's played pretty poorly this year, but he did this last year too. He's just not that great on outdoor hard courts. But he goes into the clay and he plays much better. So it's good. It's good to see him, translate that. And he ended up losing in the quarters to Sinner pretty handily. But I mean, Sinner's great right now. So
yeah, he was looking really good. Coming. I mean, he had a win against Hurkacz too, which was solid. I mean,
saved match points in that match actually.
Was it really?
Yeah, in the tiebreaker.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So that was a pretty actually surprising to me because Hurkacz is not necessarily that great on clay, right? He's consistent, but
there was a good running drop shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you check out those highlights.
He's definitely a great match, but very surprising to me that it got that close between Sinner and him, especially the way Sinner's playing.
Though. He is tricky. Yeah,
definitely, and he's very consistent. I mean, there's a reason he's been top 10 for the last few years. So good win there for Sinner, beating another top 10 player along the way, right, and beating Musetti pretty convincingly. Are you thinking that this maybe have been a missed opportunity for Sinner?
For Sinner, yeah. So Sinner, ended up losing to Rune. Yeah, I think so. I think that match was also it's just a tricky match too because they had a lot of the 2 rain delays, right? I think it probably affected his rhythm. He definitely needed to be mentally strong, and I think it kind of showed that. Okay, he has some development there. Rune was, I mean, he was he he was playing well, but I mean, I think that was his game. He's playing a little bigger now, I think. Sinner coming into the match, I think he was in great form. So
He was.
and in the first set, you saw him, and he won that first set 6-1. And then it kind of slowly started to
Yeah.
unravel and get out of hand. And he still had his chances toward the end too, but I didn't see that assertiveness from Sinner that I like to see, and I think things just kind of got annoying to him. Like, I think Rune was hitting the ball at him a few times. There's just the conditions probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got to get past some of those things.
Yeah.
I think if he wants to become like the player, I think he's already there. He just has to be consistent mentally. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard to sort of judge Sinner because, in a way, he's sort of ahead of the curve. You know, being 21, and always reaching these later stages of term. I mean, let's not mistake this, right? He reached 3 semifinals of Masters 1000 in a row. The last people to do that were the Big Four.
The Big Four.
Those are the only people who have done that, right? So that's huge. That means something, right?
Yeah.
Yet he reaches to these stages and he can't win them. And one thing is that, you know, the Big Four did that before, and they actually won the tournament when they did that, right?
Dope.
So, so that's the thing, and it's hard because Sinner is 21. I mean, let's not forget, Federer won 20 Grand Slams, one of the greatest players of the history of the sport,
and he's still.
And by 21, he was still a little bit of a head case, right?
It's true.
It took a little while for him to, and he was also getting injured here and there. So very similar struggles to what we're seeing for Sinner. And it might be that Sinner just needs a few more years to really be that guy, right? Be at the top of the game. And, you know, things that we're seeing from somebody like Alcaraz is just completely out of the norm, right? It's not what you expect. And I feel like because Alcaraz is doing that, being younger than him, we're kind of comparing them, right, in a way. And I feel like it's hard to sort of make a final conclusion on what I think of Sinner because, I mean, we brought it up in our last conversation that Sinner... He was pretty atrocious against the top players, right, in his career. And this year, he's already starting to turn it around. I mean, he beat Tsitsipas at the beginning of this year, right? He beat Alcaraz at a higher level, right? Because Alcaraz, I mean, he beat him last year a few times in Wimbledon, where really it's not Alcaraz's best surface. So good win, but not great win, you know. And then he lost to him in the biggest match in the U.S. Open. But then this year he beat him when Alcaraz was looking unbelievable, right? So that felt different, right? That felt like this is a big win for him.
But he's got to finish.
He's got to finish it, right? And I think he's just progressing slow but upward.
I just hope it's not like a Felix case.
Yeah, no, I actually think it isn't, right? Because Felix seems to me like he has plateaued a little bit.
Where he's on the uprise, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, Sinner is definitely on the uprise. Yeah. He's already had his best start of his career, and he's already turning around his record against top players, right? This year, he's about 50-50 against top players, like top 10, top 5 players. You know, before this year, he was like 1-17 or something like that, or 4-17. It was a very, very bad record, right? So we are seeing improvements. And the fact that he's actually, I mean, I remember last year, Sinner in the Sunshine Double, he was just getting hurt. Like he was withdrawing from matches. Yeah. He was not physically.
He's definitely physically improved.
And he's already improved physically. So we're already starting to see that development. It's just that for this particular tournament, I just feel like just a little bit it was a missed opportunity just because, you know, Tsitsipas was out. Alcaraz is not playing. You know, Djokovic was not in any type of form. Nadal did not play, right? Yeah. He is the last player, apart from Medvedev, of the top, you know, most informed players that was remaining in this tournament. and it just felt like he should have won the tournament, right? But at the same time, I want to give credit to Holger Rune because I also felt like he took it away from him in a way, right?
Yeah, he was playing great.
He was playing amazing.
His backhand was just killer.
Yeah, it was disgusting, and his return of serve, especially in the final as well,
really good.
Really good. So he has weapons, and he is pretty lethal with his drop shot when he executes it right. Because sometimes he kind of get loose with it, but when he hits it right, it's a thing of beauty. Right.
It's almost like Alcaraz. I mean, I don't think it's up to that level, but it's close.
I think it can be as good as Alcaraz. It's just not as consistent as Alcaraz.
Yeah.
And we saw that against Sinner, and we saw that against Rublev. So I don't want to give too much slack to Sinner. I think he did what he had to do. Right. A guy like Musetti, like he should not be anywhere near Sinner. And he
destroyed.
And he did what he had to do, right?
Yeah.
He put a beat down, and Rune was probably the most difficult opponent for Sinner remaining, and he lost a close one, right? And let's not forget about Rune, right? Rune, we talk a lot about Sinner and Alcaraz this year, but
he's great.
Rune, like he beat Djokovic in Paris, like that's not nothing, right? He beat him in a Masters 1000 at final, where Djokovic is actually very good.
Yeah.
So. He is one of the top rising stars in the game, and I think this is just all positives all around, I would say, for all of these guys. And Rublev, I don't want to be too hard on Rublev, right? Because he had his best week of his career, and I think he's worked very hard and deserves it. I just don't think that this is something that we can. Is not predictive to me for the rest of the clay court season is what I'm saying. Yeah. I would still put Rune and Sinner, along with Nadal, Djokovic, and Alcaraz ahead, right, in terms of favorites to win the remaining big tournaments. But you got to tip your cap to Rublev for taking advantage of the opportunity that he had. So good stuff there. Anything else on the court that we want to discuss before we go into some of the drama that happened in Monte Carlo, which was equally as entertaining? Maybe we could talk about that. Well, before we do that, let's actually talk about somebody who was I did get a little disappointed with, and Casper Ruud.
Yeah, he
so after that week where he won in what was that tournament that he won?
He was looking good.
Was it Estoril? And we were already ready to crown him to win the French Open.
Were we?
I almost was. No, I'm just joking.
He was looking really
good. He was looking good, right? And he started to struggle again in this tournament, and he lost in the round 16 to John Leonard Struff. And granted, Struff is really good on clay, and he can be difficult. But honestly, that's a match you gotta win. If you're Casper Ruud, if you're number 4, you gotta win that match, right? Yeah. Am I being hard on him or? A little bit.
No,
I feel like he should win that match. So if I would say one person that it's a little disappointing with the results, I would say it's Casper. Yeah. Because Tsitsipas also lost, quarterfinals to Fritz. Probably should have won that if he's healthy, but he is hurt, and it's hard to tell how fit he is. And even if he's fit, but he might be rusty a little bit. So it's hard to read too much into that. But with Casper, it's just another disappointing result for him in a tournament where I feel like he should be doing good because it is the slowest of the Masters, right?
The clay court Masters,
of the clay courts, and he should be able to. It should suit his game well. I feel like so. Yeah, not sure what's going on with Casper, but we'll see if he can turn it around in any of the upcoming tournaments. But let's go to the last match that we want to discuss, so that it could lead us right into the drama. I was actually very impressed with Daniil Medvedev winning against Alexander Zverev. That just shows that he is actually all around just a better player this year. Like honestly,
he's not a big clay court fan.
He does not like the clay courts. Yeah. He's made that very clear in the past. So yeah, it's incredible to see how.
Yeah, he didn't like Indian Wells because
it felt like
a clay court.
Exactly. So I was totally expecting him to lose, maybe even before meeting Zverev, but definitely if he met Zverev. And Zverev was on his way. He was 6-3, and he had a few chances to serve for the match. So he did not take them. So
Ugh.
he again in the big moments. I don't want to say choked, but it's hard to not. It's hard to find a different
He
word for
broke
what he did.
down. I think
Yeah.
he mentally broke down.
Yeah.
Like I think something happens when he's on match point where something creeps in his mind.
Yeah.
I think
Or in any type of
yeah.
winning position.
Yeah.
Didn't he serve for the match twice against Team in the
Like-
U.S. Open?
Oh,
I feel like he served for the
I
match
feel like he
in
had
that one
multiple
too.
match points. I
Yeah.
can't remember if he served for it twice, but yes, similar
Similar.
scenario.
Yeah.
So he was serving for it twice.
Yeah, twice.
here, and
Yep.
he just couldn't do it.
Couldn't close it out. He got broken at love in one of those. So
Oh, gosh.
yeah. So it's another show of of Zverev struggling to close
Mhm.
out. But the big thing that came out of this match was the drama that ensued, right? And we all know Medvedev can be a little bit crazy sometimes. He got frustrating at what point. I don't remember if it was in the second or the third set, but he during the changeover, he literally grabbed the pole next to the net, like holding up the net on one side of the court. And he literally just grabbed it and threw it on the floor out of just frustration.
No way.
So he was like, a little bit annoyed at him not playing as well as he could have. But Zverev just looked at his box and he was just laughing about it. But then after that, there was a point where Medvedev... Was it Medvedev serving? It was 3-2. And it was a changeover. And Medvedev asked the referee or the umpire, sorry, for a bathroom break.
Mhm.
So he wanted to use just that the changeover time essentially, and the umpire was okay. You go ahead and do it, and he came back from the bathroom break in the time that before calling time for the next game to be played, right? So he did not extend the time, is what I'm trying to say here. Yet after the match, Zverev had a lot to say about that, right? And he started saying things like, Medvedev is the most unfair player in the world, that he does these things to try to rattle the opponents and things like that. And then they brought this back to Medvedev, and
In the press
I
conference.
I cannot imitate the sassiness with Medvedev is able to just completely destroy the people that are talking trash at him. So you should definitely, if you have time, listeners, go and watch that entire press conference after Medvedev lost to Rune. They asked him about the comments that Zverev had made, right?
Yeah.
And basically, just to make it short, right? He was saying that Zverev should look in the mirror, right, in terms of fairness, because he's not the fairest player on the court, right? And he was saying things like, if it was Diego Schwartzman, if it was Casper Ruud, if it was Karen Hashimoff, like I would take it seriously, but a guy like Sasha, like he's not one of those guys. He was saying, and then after that, he went like more on the personal side of things, like because Zverev, he does this thing where he's trying to pretend that he and Medvedev are close. And there was one particular time where he, in one of the, I don't know if he was the runner-up or he won the tournament, but he was saying to his, to Medvedev, to his wife, right, like saying that, first naming her essentially, like if they were close, and saying how he and her and Medvedev, Daniil Medvedev are close with him, with Zverev. And Zverev was like, that's not true at all. We haven't been friends since like the juniors. And he's definitely not friends with Daria. And I thought that was really distasteful in the sense that, we all know the sexual, or not the sexual, it was the domestic violence, allegations from Zverev's ex-girlfriend against him. And she actually is very close with Medvedev's wife. So Zverev doing this, he's kind of like signaling that no, we're all very close, right? And we're all friends here. It's they're kind of on my side in a way.
But there's more to that.
But there's more to that. And Medvedev was like, no, that's not the case, right? And he made it very clear. So there's a lot of drama between these two. And I honestly think I 100% side with Medvedev on this one, because I feel like Medvedev is very self-aware of when he makes mistakes, and that's the difference between him and guys like him, like Zverev, and to a lesser extent some guys like Tsitsipas and even guys like Kyrgios. Like, these are guys that are very entitled and never say when they're wrong, right? And Medvedev, he loses his mind sometimes, and he's like very apologetic about it, and things change. So, do you have any thoughts on the whole controversy? Like, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think it's just Zverev being frustrated.
Yeah.
And at one point, Medvedev himself said that, he may say these things right now, but if it's in 1 or 2 weeks, then I'll take it more seriously, because then it means something. But it could be just that he's saying these things out of frustration in the heat of the moment.
Right, after losing.
And, I understand. I think he's just frustrated,
Yeah.
honestly. And he's saying all this stuff to, I don't know, guess reconcile his loss. I don't know. He's got to do better mentally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that he breaks down again in the press conference, I guess. I mean, he's got to be able to get things together. I don't know if he needs like a coach mental coach, psychologist helps in these situations. I don't know. But it's a trend. It's been happening many times. I actually didn't watch the end of it, but was he serving like crazy? Like, his second serves were like...
Second serves were not as bad
as it was before?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did go through a period where he could not make a second serve.
Right?
It was bad. Or he would just like...
Dink it
there to get destroyed. I remember when he lost actually in Miami last year to Casper Ruud. Casper was just feasting on those second serves with his forehand. Yeah. Zverev really, it's like you said, mentally, he needs to do something, right? Because he was complaining about the bathroom break about Medvedev, and not only was the bathroom break that he took legal and fine, it did not extend the match, but Zverev actually broke serve on Medvedev and got up to the point to serve for the match or the set, one of the two. So he actually played better after the bathroom break than Medvedev took until he was serving for it. So it makes no sense that like he was rattled by that. It just comes off as a poor excuse.
Playing the victim there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really do hope that he gets his mind together, because man, when his tennis is there, like he's one of the best players in the world when he's on.
Clay court too, right? I mean,
particularly on clay, right? He's honestly anywhere, but it's at grass. But he's good on clay. He particularly in this matchup with Medvedev, he's favored against Medvedev on the clay, right? So it is disappointing for him to lose this way, and especially because Medvedev ended up losing the next match, right? He lost to Rune pretty comfortably. So it's not like Medvedev played out of his mind to beat Zverev. It's more like Zverev just lost the opportunity. So it's unfortunate there. There was a little bit of other drama, more of the playful kind, not the cringy kind. But I guess one part of it was kind of cringe. So Tsitsipas had his own little thing, right, where he said after a match where he won, he wrote, how players after the match, they write like a little message on the camera, right? And Tsitsipas decided for some strange reason to write a message that said, U.S. clay courts are like unicorns on skateboards.
What does that mean?
It took me a while to understand what he was saying, but I think what he was trying to say was, there aren't that many clay courts in the U.S., but why are you bringing that up, right? In Monte Carlo? Like, what does that even make sense? So it was an odd thing to do. But then he played against Taylor Fritz in his next match. And Taylor Fritz, obviously, he beat him. And at the end of the match, he wrote on the camera lens, U.S. clay, and he went like this.
Question mark.
Yeah, so throwing a little shade at Tsitsipas. So I just want to say I love that. I feel like the tennis needs a little bit more of that little playfulness.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like in the NBA where there's trash talk and things like that. You know, a little bit of playfulness. And I like it.
I don't know where Tsitsipas was going with it though.
I don't know. I think he was trying to be very philosopher about it. You know how he does in Instagram
gosh.
and so
In his vlogs.
yeah. When he's not actually plagiarizing somebody else's tweets, he tries to come up with his own things. So
Okay.
that is Tsitsipas for you.
Yeah.
He's such a weird character, but I love how Taylor first responded. But yeah, that was the drama in Monte Carlo, and that's the tournament. So great result for Rublev, and let's see if he can continue to bring that on for the rest of the clay court season.
Yeah.
So anything else before we move on to the next tournaments?
I think that wraps it up for this one. Yeah. Great
Okay.
job, Rublev, pulling out your first ATP 1000.
Huge for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Barcelona. And in Barcelona, we have a lot of the top players in the world here. Not all of them. There's a few other tournaments, and some of them are those. But
All right, let's switch.
this is the most high-profile tournament of the week for the men. And we have the return of Carlos Alcaraz. He took the Monte Carlo off, partly to rest, partly to recover from a bit of an injury that he has.
Is it the same injury?
I think it's a different one.
Is it
It was
different?
something related. It was like some sort of arthritis.
Arthritis. Oh,
Arthritis?
He did. Yeah, he did.
It was like a
say
temporary arthritis thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but
He's playing too hard.
yeah, nothing serious, right? Like, it's just he just needed a little bit of rest. I mean, Monte Carlo right after the Sunshine Double is kind of
It's
rough.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good idea for him to just take off Monte Carlo. He didn't have any points to defend there. He lost first round last year, so probably a good idea to do that. But he is the defending champion in Barcelona. And he is back, and he is the number 1 seed. And the other top players in the tournament are Stefanos Tsitsipas at the number 2 spot. He actually went down. Casper Ruud is actually now ahead of him again because Tsitsipas didn't defend his title, right? But the draws came out before that happened, so he's still ranked number 2. So he's the 2nd seed. Casper Ruud is the 3rd seed, and Yannick Sinner round out the top 4. And then the other seeds here are Tiafoe, Hashanov, Cameron Norrie, Alex de Minaur, Lorenzo Musetti, Davidovich Fokina, Dimitrov, Evans, RBA, Denis Shapovalov, Francisco Cerundolo, and Yoshihito Nishioka. So maybe let's go quarter by quarter. And where do you want to start? You want to start on Tsitsipas' side? Or you want to start on Alcaraz's side? Let's start on Alcaraz's side.
Yeah. Carlos
So,
Alcaraz.
we have a few first round matches that have already happened. So we know that already. First round, Carlos Alcaraz will face Nuno Borges, which is a bit of a tricky match because Borges is playing pretty good this year, and he's pretty good on clay. So it could be a good warm up test for Alcaraz. You could push him a set, I think.
Think so?
Yeah, I think you could push him a set. Maybe not win it, but maybe push him to 6-4, maybe 7-5, 7 or tiebreak or something. I think it's a good start for him to get warmed up. But on his side, so going over who are the seeds that are in the different sides, right? So we have Alcaraz and Ruud on the top half, and then on the bottom half we have Tsitsipas and Sinner. So those could be the potential semifinal matchups. Tsitsipas and Sinner, and then Alcaraz and Ruud. And in the quarter with Alcaraz, we have Frances Tiafoe. So that would be a fun quarterfinal if that happens. Those would be the top seeds there. On that little section there with Tiafoe and Alcaraz, anything that stands out to you apart from them?
I mean, yeah, I'd actually not too much more. I mean,
Yeah, not too much, right?
He's a good clay court player, but he lost to Berrettini last.
Who are we talking about?
Cerundolo.
Cerundolo. Cerundolo was in the
yeah.
bottom half, though, right?
Oh, I thought he was in the top half.
Is he? Or maybe he's in the top half.
He's in the top half.
He's in the Ruud side, though.
Oh, we're just okay. Okay, I see what you're talking
Just
about.
in
Just
that little
Tiafoe.
quarter
Oh,
there
okay.
with Tiafo, yeah.
No, maybe RBA, but
Yeah, RBA is like, the consistent guy. Fokina is also a good clay quarter.
Fokina. But no, I don't think. I
But
think
it
Alcaraz
seems
should
like,
get through,
yeah,
yeah.
Alcaraz should get through there. I think Tiafo also should get through there. It might be a
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
match between Fokina and Tiafo on that top side.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be willing to. I would be happy to watch that if it happens. I'm actually pretty interested to see how Tiafoe's game is going to translate to the clay, because I feel like he actually has the potential to be good, but I don't know how well his movement is on clay. He did win that tournament in Houston, or Houston? Where is it? Was it Houston? The U.S. clay court event?
Possibly.
But it is a green clay, very different from the European clay, right? So I don't know
unicorn, isn't it?
it is a unicorn. I don't know how well that will translate though. But he did win that unicorn event, so if that means anything, he plays at least well in the green clay.
I think it's pretty different though.
Yeah.
But
so I'm interested to see if it will translate, because he's also similar to Fritz, right? Both guys are on the rise, playing their best tennis of their lives. And we didn't know how well Fritz was going to translate to the clay. In fact, we were probably expecting it not to, right? And he proved us wrong there. So I'm really interested to see if Tiafoe can do the same, and maybe make that quarterfinal against Alcaraz. But yeah, I agree. I think apart from that, we got some good players. I mean, Echeverry has been playing pretty well in the clay. He's a good clay court player, but he's more of a pusher. And I don't think those kind of players do well against Alcaraz. So
he was in that final in Houston against Tiafoe.
Oh, it was Echeverry, right?
Yeah,
that played him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
So he could be somebody that somebody to watch there, but he doesn't have a lot of weapons. So I think Alcaraz would not suffer with him. But yeah, let's go on to the second quarter there. So Ruud and Ruud and Hashanov would be potential quarterfinal opponents. Anything that stands out from this part for you?
I think it's Fernando Verdasco.
Fernando Verdasco's here?
He gets a wild card.
What is this? Oh, wow. What is he doing? Is he playing like challengers and stuff? Like, is he still active?
I think he just shows up to these events.
Or is he just playing like once every 10 tournaments or something?
I mean, what was he? He was at the Labor Cup, right? Wasn't he?
Was he at the Labor Cup? No, that was Feliciano Lopez, right?
Was it
wait.
Feliciano? Oh, yeah, we're talking about... That was Feliciano.
Yeah, it was Feliciano. And I think he's somewhere.
No, I think he's here, too.
He is in the bottom, there in the
he also
quarter
gets a
with
wild
center.
Card. Oh, Verdasco, I have no clue. I don't know what he's doing, actually.
What is he doing? Yeah.
He's coming out of nowhere.
For me, one guy that stands out, I've already mentioned them in the past, Nicolas Jarry. Already won his first round match. He actually did win a few matches in Monte Carlo before losing to Tsitsipas. So he had a pretty good tournament there as well. And he has been playing pretty good on the clay. He is a little bit one-dimensional in the sense that he doesn't move that great. But he knows how to move on the clay, and he has big serve, big forehand. So he can be a little dangerous. He's playing Hashanov in the next round. So that's going to be a pretty fun second round match to watch between Jarry and Hashanov. So he's one guy who sort of stands out to me here. Obviously, Francisco Cerundolo, he's pretty good on the clay. Can be a little dangerous, especially given the fact that Ruud has not been playing that well this year. And, he had that one title run in Estoril, but again, did not play well in Monte Carlo. So I'm interested to see how well he can recover and how well he'll play. He's going to play Ben Shelton next. And the last time they played, it was the time that we actually knew about Ben Shelton, right? Because he destroyed Ruud in, I can't remember what tournament it was. It must have been a Sunshine Double or maybe even in the Cincinnati or Canada, one of those.
Double. It was
I think it was maybe one of those, the Canada or Cincinnati. But he absolutely trashed them. And at first, I was like, "What is Ruud doing, losing to this guy who came out of college?" But he actually turned out to be quite good.
He got to Aussie Open. Very fun.
Aussie Open quarterfinal. So
Yeah.
he has a lot of potential. He has not played a lot on the clay before. He's basically only played like a handful of matches in his career on the clay. So that might be a little bit different this time.
He
but
just took out fellow American McDonald.
Mackenzie. Yeah, Mackenzie McDonald.
Mackenzie.
And that's a good win for him. I actually thought Mackenzie would win that. But good win for him there, and it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate some of the success he had against Rude last year. So that's a match that I'm looking forward to on this section.
That'll be a good test for Rude.
And then obviously hashing off in this section, Mr. Consistent, the guy that nobody talks about, but keeps.
We don't even talk about him.
We don't talk about him either. The only thing I say to him is how disrespectful I am to him because I don't talk about him all the time, and he just keeps getting to the quarterfinals everywhere. So he might do it again, but he's also in that section there. Yeah. Then finally, I would say moving down to the bottom half, we have Nori and Sinner in the same quarter. And apart from those, we have also Musetti and Nishioka who are ranked. Mm-hmm. Anybody else that stands out for you here apart from Mr. Feliciano Lopez? Isn't he tournament director here?
Oh,
and he's also playing?
He's also playing this one.
It's so weird.
Feliciano. Not really. I mean, I would have said Diego Schwartzman last year, but not this year.
Yeah, he's not been playing great. He was actually hurt. He had to retire against Sinner. He's drawing Sinner again. I mean, that's not a good draw. If he gets past Yi Wu. I mean, Yi Wu is not known for his clay court prowess, so maybe he can get by Wu, but that is a very bad draw for Schwartzman against Sinner, so fully expecting him to lose there.
I don't see.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think nobody else stands out here. I
hope Sinner gets
I think
through.
the seeds, right? The seeds are the ones that stand out. It'll be interesting to see if Cam Nori can put it back together. I mean, he's been slumping a little bit recently, but he's also been Mr. Consistent. So let's see if he can put it together again and have a good week. And then in the bottom half, the bottom quarter, we have Tsitsipas and Diminars, the big names there. The other seeds are Shapovalov and Grigor Dimitrov. Anybody else that we should mention from this side? I don't see anybody of note here, really. Ramos Vignolas, he could be a little bit tricky on the clay, so potential upset alert against Dimitrov. But other than that, really the seeds are the big names here. So maybe we could go into some predictions.
Let's do it.
Let me actually pull up my... Yeah. So listeners, remember to participate in our...
TNNS Live Fantasy
exactly.
League.
In our league, right now we have 4 tournaments that are going, and the picks closed yesterday for Barcelona, Stuttgart, Banja Luka, and Munich. So without further ado, let's go into our predictions, go into the quarterfinal matchups. So you want to go first? You find it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start from the top. I have Carlos Alcaraz playing Tiafoe.
Okay.
The seeds there. And then I have Casper Ruud playing Nicholas Jarry.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting match if it happens.
Now, I'm not sure why I picked this one, but Lorenzo Musetti plays Sinner.
And
Dimitrov plays Tsitsipas in the bottom.
I have the exact same picks, except for I picked Zerundolo to beat Ruud.
Ooh.
That's the only thing.
That's an interesting one. Okay.
Just watch him win this tournament because I didn't pick him this week.
Casper Ruud.
Yeah. But I agree with the rest.
Is it a 250?
This is a 500. So, no.
Joking.
I am correct in not picking him.
What about... Okay, we'll go to semifinals. So I have Carlos Alcaraz taking out Tiafoe. So Alcaraz and Ruud.
Okay.
Let's see. And then I have Sinner and Tsitsipas.
I have Alcaraz, Sinner, and Tsitsipas, same as you. But I have Alcaraz playing Nicolas Jerry.
Jerry. Ooh, that's
Yes,
interesting. You think Jerry can give Alcaraz some problems?
he could. Didn't he
Yeah.
take a set from Alcaraz in Rio this year? I think he did.
Ooh,
I'm pretty sure he took a set from him.
that'll be interesting.
Either Rio or Buenos Aires, one of the two.
And then my final is Alcaraz and Sinner.
There's a theme going on here. So I actually went Tsitsipas for this.
Wow.
I went
Okay.
Tsitsipas and Alcaraz only because I think Sinner has played too much, and I'm actually half expecting him to pull out of this tournament at some point. He hasn't announced it yet, but
You think
but
he's
even if he
done?
doesn't pull out, I feel like he's not gonna go that far this tournament.
Interesting.
Just
I mean-
because he's played a lot. He's reached 3 semifinals in a row, and these tournaments are literally almost in a row.
Well, he might have Diego Schwartzman as a warm up.
True, but I think if he can, well, it all depends on. I'm picking a guy who's also hurt, so I'm not I'm not sure what I'm doing really. But yeah, I do
Okay.
have Alcaraz and Tsitsipas in the final.
Okay, who wins it?
Alcaraz.
Oh, I have
Yeah.
Sinner.
I feel like we
The
could do this.
fatigued
We could just
sinner
say we could just skip the episodes and just say we're gonna have Alcaraz against Sinner in the final from now in the
Whoa.
foreseeable future. It's
So
actually
gonna
kind of
be
nice.
My picks.
It's actually it's kind of nice that we actually could have them in the final. I mean,
know,
they've been
they'll
running
maybe
into each other
get in the
early.
semis or
Quarters in the
quarters.
U.S. Open,
gosh,
and
yeah.
round of 16 in Wimbledon.
It would
So
be a
it's-
deserving final.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be awesome to see them in the
Yeah.
final. So that would be something. And if he can beat Tsitsipas Sinner, like that would be another big win for him if he can do that, right? To make that final.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
He's- I
excited.
think he's hungry right now. I feel like
Yeah,
I think he was sort of the favorite to go into Monte Carlo. So
he was definitely one of the favorites for
yeah,
sure,
So I think
especially
he's
when
just a little- I think
Djokovic.
he's a little annoyed probably right now.
Yeah.
That
So
loss.
betting favorites, Tsitsipas and Djokovic were higher just because
Mhm.
of Djokovic being Djokovic and Tsitsipas being the defending champion
Defending
2 times.
champion, yeah.
But it
That's-
felt like Sinner was the favorite.
He was
you
the
know.
one in form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I got Alcaraz defending his title in Barcelona. I think it's gonna be a fun tournament. I'm excited.
You're right.
Um,
Sinner has played 3 semifinals
In a row.
in a row, in ATP 1000 events too, right?
Though to be fair, the only place that he really looked fatigued was in that final against Medvedev. All along in Monte Carlo, he didn't seem to lose because of
Yeah.
physicality. It was
Yeah.
more, close match, and
This is
You
just
know, got a little
great,
tight,
great
but-
sign for him.
yeah, it's a great sign because
Yeah.
last year
He was struggling.
he was struggling so much.
Injuries and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Should we move on to Stuttgart
Stuttgart.
Porch Tennis Grand Prix? This is the
Porsche.
tournament where
Porsche.
they actually have the porch on the tennis court. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
Did
like
they-
in the corner.
like in the
or something.
corner or
It's
something,
like-
yeah.
Is it revolving?
Is it? I think
No,
they
I'm
have one
saying
on top actually for the ceremony they have one on top, and they actually drive the Porsche at the end of the tournament. Whoever wins it. So it's a-
No, I didn't do the draws for this one. Okay. Oh wait, I should.
I did, so I'll pull it
forgot
up.
To put. We're all staring at the Barcelona one. Okay, let's
Yeah, let's do
do
Stuttgart. There we go.
Stuttgart. All right. Ooh. Okay, Iga's playing.
So let's just pull up my bracket real quick so I can do my picks, and let's go
Ooh.
into it. Okay.
Top half we have. Okay, let's talk about the seeded players here. We have
Yeah.
Iga as number 1, Zabalenka as number 2, Caroline Garcia, I guess, as number 4. Someone must have dropped out.
Yeah, I think somebody pulled out at the last moment.
Mm.
Or actually, no. I think Jabeur is just incorrectly not ranked.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
it?
I think you're right on this draw.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because she's
Jabeur
there.
is there.
She's
yeah.
definitely there, and she's definitely ranked
She's
higher than
definitely-
Garcia.
Okay, so we have Jabeur and then Garcia and then
Mhm.
Coco Golf, Elena Rybakina and then Kazatkina and Sakari as the top 8 seeds there.
It's a pretty loaded field for a small
It is,
event.
right?
Yeah, this is just a third. Is it this 32? Yeah, it's a 32 player bracket.
Yeah.
And we have like
Other good players there
the
too.
majority
I
of the top
mean,
10 players of the world are here.
yeah. Look, Badosa's there. Raducanu's there. Ostapenko. Wow.
It's a good tournament.
It's a great tournament.
Maybe we start on the top quarter there. So we have in the same half we would have Iga and Jabor as the top seeds that might face each
Mhm.
other. I think we should also mention that it could be Jabor or Rebakina,
Bakina,
who
yeah.
seems like the top
Playing really
three
well,
player of
yeah.
this year. So that could be a potential semifinal. And then on the other side we have Garcia and Sabalenka could be the other potential
Mhm.
semifinal. So maybe let's discuss the quarter for Iga. So she could face her highest seed there that she could face in the quarterfinal would be Maria Sakkari.
Mhm.
Man, we have some really good matches in the first round just to start. So
Yeah.
Sakkari against Pliskova, that's a pretty tough one
Rough.
in the first round. It's because it's a 32 player draw only. It's just very a small draw. So we get good matches to start all around. So that's a pretty tough one for Sakkari. Though on the clay, I feel like Sakkari is favored in that matchup. We already have Donna Vekic, who beat Alexandrova, and Qinwen Zheng beat Alicia Parks there. And Zheng against Swiatek is next, and that is a great match for round of 16. Because Qinwen Zheng, if listeners remember, she was the only player to take a set out of Iga in the French Open run. The only player. So she looks like a really good young player. She's only like 19 or 20. And she shows a lot of promise. So I'm excited for that match. And then Donna Vekic could play the winner of Sakkari and Pliskova. So that quarter there is pretty loaded. But at the same time, I think Iga could get through that pretty comfortably. I think this is the clay now, right? So is this the part of the year where Iga just cleans up with tournaments? It might be.
Is this her first clay?
It's her first clay event of the year. Yeah.
It'll be interesting how she is in the first tournament. I mean,
she cleaned up last year. She's the defending champion here.
Yeah.
And she won. She didn't play in Madrid, but she won Rome and then won the French Open. So
insane.
We'll see if she goes on the same run this year. She really needs to get on the clay because she's been struggling a little bit.
She probably has a lot of
not
points
struggling.
To defend, right?
She does have a lot of points to defend, but she didn't play Madrid, so she could get points there.
Could get points there.
But she hasn't been struggling this year, but she's not the dominant player like she was last year. And like we said, like she's had a Rybakina problem, so it'll be interesting if she can get through that. And maybe we should just go into that section now, that quarterfinal section. So we have Jabor has a bye. She's the top seed from that section. We have some pretty good matchups to start. I think Jelena Ostapenko against Emma Raducanu. That's a really good match. If I remember correctly, Raducanu actually made the quarterfinals of this tournament last year. And then she lost to Iga. So it'll be fun to see if she can repeat the success. But Ostapenko, first round, that's pretty tough. Yeah. Ostapenko is a former French Open champion, so she can play on the clay. So that's a pretty fun section there. Trevisan and Haddad Maia. Haddad Maia usually I give the edge to, but Trevisan is really good on clay. So this might be a good match for Trevisan to go through. And then Rybakina, I have no idea what to expect on the clay because I don't think she's played that well on clay in her career. So that is something that is going to be interesting to look at. She's going to play Julie Neumeier in the first round. So I think that might be actually a good matchup because Neumeier has really been struggling this year. She's supposed to be like, one of the young top players that are coming up, but she's had a terrible year. So might be a good start up there for Rybakina. Then in the bottom half, the top quarter there, we have Garcia and Coco Gauff are the top seeds in this section. Garcia has a bye, but Coco Gauff plays first round Veronika Kudermetova. That's tough for a first round. Kudermetova is, I believe she's still a top 10 player. If not, she's like 11 or 12. So that's a pretty rough draw in the first round. Again, small bracket, so
that's why.
Yeah, that's why. But that's a pretty good one. Then she could face one of rising stars of the year in the next round, and Potapova. So she might be the one player to watch from this section that might provide some upsets. And I think those are kind of the bigger names from this section. And then from the bottom, we have a really good match to start in Kasakina and Paula Badosa. That's a really good match for a first round. So I actually would give the edge to Badosa in this match. And how about this? Why do Krejcikova and Sabalenka run into each other in every single tournament early on? Like they felt like they've been like the handful of 5 best players of the year, right? And they keep running into each other in like round of 16, quarterfinals. What's going on there? So Krejcikova is there, and she actually is playing Samsonova, who got far in this tournament last year. If I remember correctly, she actually made the semifinals, and she almost beat Iga. It was very close. So that could be a pretty interesting matchup, Krejcikova and her, and then the winner plays Sabalenka. So this is a really loaded draw. So now that we've gone through the draw, we want to do some picks.
Ooh.
I can go first while you think to see.
It.
Yeah. So I mostly went seeds here, but for the most part I went seeds. But I'll start on the top. So I have Iga getting through that match. Zachary. I got Ons Jabeur getting through there to face Martina Trevisan. So I actually have Rybakina losing earlier. So we'll see. She's gonna be interesting because she might be like Fritz, right? That we don't expect, but then she translates the game because she's just in good form.
She's in great form.
So who knows? But for now, I'm being conservative and I'm just picking the clay court player. I went with Trevisan there. I gave Anastasia Potapova a bit of a shout there to make the quarterfinal because I like that she's in good form. Okay. Coco Gauff is good on clay though, so that might be a little bit of a stretch of a pick. But if I'm going to go for an upset, I think that's a good one to pick, Potapova. And I got her facing Caroline Garcia in the quarterfinal. And then at the bottom, I have Badosa reaching the quarterfinal and Barbora Krejcikova. So I do have her taking out Sabalenka. Wow.
Nice.
So, but that's a tough one because
they're all really good
and they've beaten each other. So it's tough to predict there. I mean, Sabalenka's pretty good on clay too. Krejcikova is a French Open champion. So, but those are my picks for the quarterfinal. For semifinals, I got Jabeur and Swiatek. I got Potapova and Krejcikova. Final, I got Krejcikova and Swiatek. And winner, I have the defending champion winning the title, and Iga Swiatek. I think she wins her second title of the year here in Stuttgart.
Wow. Okay, I'll try to go for my predictions. Let's see how this goes. I didn't think you would pick Iga again, actually.
It's the clay. She was so much better than everybody else on the clay last year that it's just hard to not pick her.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I'm going to actually pick, so for quarters, I'm going to pick Zachary and Iga for that top quarter, and then Ons Jabeur, and I'm going to actually give Hadid Maya a nice little run. And then we have Coco Gauff playing, I'm going to say Garcia, and actually, I'm going to go with Badosa and Sabalenka.
Okay.
So, and then the semis.
Wait, who did you go for against Garcia? Coco?
Coco.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so let's go to the semis. I'll have Iga playing Ons Jabeur. And then I'll have Coco playing I'm going to say, I'll say Zabalenka.
Okay.
Oh boy. Coco goes in the final. And
Coco beats Sabalenka?
Yeah.
I think she did beat her last year on the clay. if I remember
I think
correctly.
she moves pretty well on clay.
She's good on clay.
Yeah.
I mean, she reached the French Open final last year,
Yeah.
so she's
There you
good
go.
on clay.
I think
Yeah.
she's gonna be hungry.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually Iga's gonna drop out here, and Ons Jabeur is gonna get past. It's gonna be tricky.
They'll be. I mean, she can do it.
Yeah.
She was the second best player
She'll
on
be
clay last
crafty.
year, so
She's crafty. I think
she
pays
has
off in the
tools
clay.
to
Yeah.
hurt Swiatek.
And it's a toss. Coin toss.
Coin toss.
Oh my gosh.
What's that? A twin toss? A twin cost?
A coin toss.
Coin toss?
It's my Boston accent. A coin toss between Jabeur and Coco. I'm gonna pick Ons Jabeur.
Okay. Ons Jabeur to win her second title on the clay this year.
There you go.
I like it. Fun. I think this tournament's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
There's a lot. I mean,
there's a lot of good
there's a lot of
players
good
in this.
players,
Yeah, I think with the men's, the problem was that there's 3 tournaments, right? So a lot of the
spread out.
it's spread out a little bit. Some of the top talent went to the other tournaments. So maybe let's wrap up and quickly go through the other ones. We won't go in detail.
Right.
We'll just see who are the big names there and do we think they win or not.
Jump to the one in Bosnia?
Sure, let's do that one first.
Yeah. So our top seed here is Novak Djokovic. Second seed is Andrei Rublev. Then Borna Coric, Kuzmanovic, Greek Spore. I can never say this guy's name.
Leheshka. GD Leheshka.
Another GD. And then Richard Gasquet and Barrere. I don't know how to say his name either. Barrere. So that's the top 8 here.
The big question here is,
how is Djokovic looking?
Yeah, is Djokovic going to win this or not? that's the big question here.
It's close to
if it's not him, then it's a toss-up, I feel like. Well, maybe Rublev. Rublev usually does well in all tournaments that he plays. So.
Oh, man, Stan lost.
Yeah, Stan already lost in the first round. Yeah, maybe we should say who are some of the names that we kind of know from this. And Stan obviously was one of them. I would say Monte is going to be playing Leheshka in the first round. I mean, Leheshka's been good this year, so I doubt that he'll win that. But we already have kind of a bit of an upset. I mean, Grigspor lost to Poprin, and I feel like Grigspor has been playing really good this year. But recently he's been losing a little bit. So
2 tie breaks. That's
rough. 2 tie breaks. But in general, this tournament is all about how closer will Djokovic get to his top level. On
clay, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't really see him losing to anybody here until the semifinal, where he could face Kuzmanovic. Though last year, Djokovic was really bad on the clay coming back, and he still was not able to beat Kuzmanovic in this tournament. Or it wasn't this one. It was a different one that was played at the same time. It was the... what's the tournament in Serbia? Belgrade.
The Belgrade one, yeah.
Yeah, so Kuzmanovic played Djokovic in that semifinal, and even though Djokovic was pretty poor, Kuzmanovic couldn't put him away. So I honestly, I feel like Djokovic is just gonna sleepwalk through all the way to the final. And the question will be, will he beat Rublev?
Right.
I think Rublev does make the final. I think it's going to be Rublev and Djokovic, just based on his form and the fact that he actually last year reached this well, not this tournament, but the similar tournament. He reached the final. He beat Djokovic actually in that tournament. So maybe we'll see the same result. But yeah, I think Djokovic just, there's not enough competition here. I think he'll play his way into form. He's not as poor as last year when he came back to the clay. Last year he could barely, his stamina was just awful. This year's not that, right? It's just he was a little rusty in that match against Musetti, just missing a lot. But I think he's gonna find his form. I think he'll just win the tournament. I just don't see how he loses to any of these guys, honestly.
Is it 250, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 250, yeah.
All right. Well,
so yeah,
we have one more tournament.
We got one more, and it is the Munich, right?
BMW Open. another 250 here. We have our top seeds: Holger Rune, Taylor Fritz, Alexander Zverev, Van de Chantapan.
Van de. You were so close, and then it went downhill at the end. Botic Van de Zandschulp. Van de Zandschulp. Do you remember that last year we were practicing his name on the ATP website? We said it like 20 times.
Yeah, we could not get it right. I still can't get it right. And then
Botic Van de Zandschulp.
Van de Zandschulp.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we have Sebastian Baez.
Mm-hmm. Baez.
Baez. Okay.
I mean, it's closer than.
And then we have Lorenzo that's not Mizzari. Sonego.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roberto Carina. Oh, that's not Carina Busta. That's
Carbales Baena.
Carbales Baena. Okay.
You're getting tested here with the names, huh?
Okay, you got the last one.
Mark Andrea Husler.
Husler.
Or Husler,
Hughes.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So big question here. Does Rune repeat to another final and actually defend his title? He won this last year.
Ooh, this will be interesting, right? He has a lot of points to defend here.
Well, we're
Not
250.
many. Yeah. Because he went to the final.
He has
He's
the
okay.
most points to defend this year.
Yeah.
But
In this tournament, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Zverev's there. I mean, he's
playing at home
that's true.
might be a boost.
That's true. Didn't think of that.
He actually
Yeah.
lost to Rune last year in this tournament. This is where Rune first made his name.
I see Fritz going far on his half. And
Yeah.
then he has a great draw.
Great draw,
I mean,
honestly. Because Husler is not really a
Yeah.
clay court player. Team has been out of form.
Yeah, team is not informed.
I see Fritz getting to the semifinals at least.
Right. Giron. Yeah. Maybe Struff might.
Yeah, I
break
think
through.
Struff and
That's also his home.
exactly. Yeah, I
court
think
advantage,
Leonard
yeah.
Struff, John Leonard Struff, and Fritz for the semifinals there.
Mhm.
Actually, I have it here. I don't have to. Let's see.
Yeah.
Who do I have?
Oh yeah, you picked some for this, didn't you? I might have.
I did
too,
pick.
actually.
I did pick
Let's
this one. So let me pull it up. Munich,
Munich.
brackets, and
Battle. Yeah, I made one too.
semifinal. Okay, yeah, I do have John Leonard Struff. Oh, I actually picked team.
Oh, you picked.
I picked team. I did pick
He's
team.
gonna somehow get in form.
Yes, I somehow. I mean, he is winning at least a match in tournaments, so
Okay.
that's something.
Hey, actually, he if he gets through, he might face Fritz.
Yeah. I think he has
I
a
could
good
see that.
shot to make that match. I think I'm giving him a little bit of a
Yeah,
stretch to
yeah.
beat Fritz, but
Right.
I think when I made this draw, I was counting on Fritz pulling out. I think that's why that was my calculus when I did the draw.
But he's
But
not
now
going to.
looking at it, actually, I would pick Fritz to make the
Okay.
semifinal.
Are you switching now?
Not really. I mean, I was playing the draw. In the draw, I have theme, so I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not gonna talk on both sides of my mouth.
it's okay.
I'm gonna say theme. I'm gonna say
Okay.
Struff. And I'm gonna say Zverev and Rune.
Okay. So I have Zverev, Rune, and Struff, and Fritz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I got Struff and Rune in the final.
Ooh, I have Zverev.
Okay.
And Fritz. in the
Okay.
final.
And I got Rune defending the title. And who you got winning?
That's interesting. I have Zverev winning.
Okay.
the
I mean,
Let's
totally
see how that
capable.
works.
I think one of the two should win. And then those are the two by far the best players on this draw and on this surface.
Right. Yeah.
So I think if
He
one
has
of
to
them
get
does
past
not
some
win,
mental barriers. Maybe at home he'll get some good.
that is a question. If he
Yeah.
will get nervous or something.
Yeah.
But
All right.
I think one of them should win. So I think that's gonna be it there. Cool.
Well,
Well, that was fun.
that was good.
That's the 4 tournaments that are happening this week: Barcelona, Stuttgart, Banja Luka, and Munich. So I'm excited to see Alcaraz come back. And I am really, really fingers crossed, hoping and imploring to the tennis gods that in Madrid we're gonna have a loaded draw. We're gonna have Nadal back Djokovic and Alcaraz playing not in parallel universes, but in the same
Oof.
tournament.
It's gonna be a real challenge for
Yes.
everyone.
So this almost feels like there's like an American league and a national league, like in baseball, you know, and Alcaraz is on the American league and Djokovic is on the national, and they just don't play each other until the final. That's what it feels like. Like this whole year has been like that. I just cannot see the two best players in the world play each other. So I'm really hoping Madrid is going to be the place. And maybe with that we should wrap up and tell our listeners that next week we'll cover the results from these 4 tournaments, and hopefully we will also be discussing the draw in Madrid. We'll see how the timing plays out in terms of when the draw comes out and all that. But I think that is the next thing that we're going to be recording. So I'm be very excited about that. And do you want to wrap up then with where listeners can find us and all that?
Yeah.
Well, I could do it as well. Yeah. So you can find us on. Yeah. Go ahead.
Also, let's give a plug for the fantasy, because
absolutely, yes,
definitely. I think like probably Thursday or Friday the draws come out. So if if you're free around that time, just pop on the app and put in your draws, your predictions for the draws, and we'll look forward to bracket battle against you guys. Yeah, exactly.
We actually have a link to the TNS League on our show notes. So when we put this on our podcasting feed, our audio version of this, you can see in the show notes how to access the league, how to join, and then from there, like just said, you can be on the lookout on the weekends, because usually draws come out Friday between Thursday and Saturday, depending on the tournament. Typically Friday for most tournaments, and they close on the first day of the event, I believe. So sometimes that's Sunday, sometimes that's Monday. So just be on the lookout for that. Put your predictions in to see who can win. This week you are participating in Barcelona, right?
And the Munich
right? Yeah. So we'll see at the end of the week who can win. I think last week you beat me in ATP.
It was close.
ATP Miami, right? And then I won, WTA Miami. WTA. So we're neck and neck. Yeah. We'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, unfortunate, because I had picked the week before. I you
had the right picks, just the wrong week.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yep. And then also we will have related to Madrid, we'll have another trivia. So we'll decide in this week who's gonna do the trivia, who's gonna do the answering. But we'll do that at the end of our show next week as well. And you can find us on any of the podcasting platforms. You can find us, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast, TuneIn, and all the other Spotify and all the other major podcasting platforms. Also on YouTube, on Twitter, Reddit, at Point by Point Tennis Podcast. And with that, we'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.